Hello, everybody. Welcome, Aquarius, to your June 2020 reading. I hope everybody's doing great. I know for a lot of us here in the States, it's a holiday. For the rest of you, I'm just glad that you're joining me, whatever time of day or whatever's going on. It's good to see you. I'm going to put this little guy down. He's still mid-nap, as you can tell. And we got a lot to talk about today. And I can see there's a lot of people that have joined us. So welcome, wherever you're from. It's good to see you. I'd like you to just really sit back, relax, and take in all that's coming through today. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, if you're brand new to the channel, and I would just like to say welcome and tell you a little bit about how this reading is going to function. I put a quick note in chat, but this always works for your sun sign, your rising, as well as your moon. And if you happen to know a little bit more about your chart, like where your Venus is and everything, you can also use it for that. You can also watch on behalf of someone that you know in your life as well. I separate this into four major parts. The beginning part is going to be psychic or channeled information. And basically before every reading begins, I will sit down, meditate, and whatever comes to me, I share that with you. And a lot of times this is both something that I'm seeing, also maybe feeling empathically. Then we'll move along to the cards and we'll take a look at the Celtic cross, looking at high points, any of the challenges, and then all of those little decisions that help make up what the month is going to be. And I also expand the forecast to make sure that we focus on a few distinct areas: health, wealth, love, and destiny. After this, we'll do a quick review, and then we'll move along to really what I kind of call like the soul work, where we're going to look at where there's an opportunity this month to heal. And usually there's some other messages. For Aquarius, there's this sort of blockage that I was sensing. So healing and releasing blocks, I think, will be our focus in the sort of last part of this. And we'll look at past, present, and future influences with respect to that, and then we'll meditate and integrate everything that we see today here. So I'd like to also say thank you just right now to both Brian and Maria. They're my moderators. They're going to help me stay organized. For if you've never watched one of these readings before, just a quick note on how I handle super chats. I see a couple of folks have been already kind to give some super stickers and super chats. Thank you so much. What that is basically, if you're watching it live, you can click on this icon and send support. And that support helps me continue to buy new decks. So, and show up and update my equipment, all of that essential stuff. It's basically like a virtual tip jar. So for anyone that's done it, thank you. I always will post a little thank you once it's on replay, but I don't interrupt the flow. That way, when you listen to this again, if you choose to do so, or if someone's watching it on replay and not live, it's not as disruptive. So I just wanted to clear that up. So I don't do pick a card and I don't answer Q&A, but there's a lot that we're going to go through. We'll be here about an hour today, and I sort of organized the parts so you know which part you want to tune in, hopefully all of them, and we'll get started, okay? We'll talk a little bit more at the end about booking an appointment or becoming a patron, but there's so much to go through today that I want to make sure that we have time to properly address it. So let's get into your channeled messages here. So the first thing that came to me was this. Actually, it was a feeling that there was, for some of you, maybe an emptiness. For the rest of you, there could be this block. And the block stuck with me for a little bit. I had to meditate through it for about 5 or 10 minutes to kind of like push through it. I'm like, okay, this is not really me. What is this about? Where is it coming from? I want to allow you to kind of embrace a simple but useful technique, which is just to not give energy to this feeling that I am blocked, or this won't happen, or, you know, I don't know what to do. Sometimes those feelings of being blocked, feeling helpless, or getting frustrated, if you just sit in that, what it actually does is cements that energy around not moving. So first and foremost, believe that there is not a block. That's what I had to do for a few minutes. I'm like, this isn't me. This is not actually here. Let me move through it. Let me melt through it and see what's coming through. Then what I started to see was like a chalkboard, and I saw it cleared off. And I then received a message that every day it would be kind of like hitting the reset button or buttons on your computer to get rid of whatever you're holding from the day before. And if you're in a positive sort of trajectory and you're feeling momentum, obviously carry that through. That's helpful. But if you've been feeling a sense of like things lagging a little bit, or if you had a really difficult conversation with somebody and you're thinking like, how can I get through this? How can I release it? Every day over the course of June, by the way, we're doing this for June, I want you to think about what am I going to do today to make it a great day? It's a choice every day to have a good or bad day. So I wake up in the morning and I think, I'm really excited. I'm excited about the Aquarius reading. I'm excited about some of the things that I have planned for the afternoon. I can't wait to get started. I put that out there. And if somebody kind of tries to insert fear, like, uh-oh, I'm not so sure about this, you can say, you know what, I have a good feeling. We're gonna make it work. At the very least, I'm gonna work through it. I'll figure it out. So if you every day reset your expectations and think it's a new day, whatever I was carrying from yesterday, I'm gonna let it go and I'm gonna reevaluate today because something new could come of it. There's no block. Today's a new start. I'm gonna make the best of it. The other thing is, and some of you will like this, some of you it may put you in a zone of discomfort. I think that you're going to be kind of leading the charge. What I got mentally was sort of like the Six of Wands card. And if you look at that, there's someone on a horse that's riding into town and there's all these people looking up to them. There are a couple things with that. One is it's a really positive, auspicious sign saying that the month of June could be a good chance for you to make some headway on something that you really care about. It could also indicate that you are going to have to sort of be out in front and not maybe have as much support. So you might be put in a position of mentorship or leadership, basically showing the way, leading that way. And the truth of the matter is everybody might be trying to figure things out and they're just looking to you for some sort of an indication that maybe they're not alone, or again, this is what my idea is. It doesn't have to be sort of you knowing everything. It's just taking the step and maybe rallying the forces. So the block is gone. Whatever I was feeling, whatever sensation of not being able to move forward, it's gone. Every day you might have to work at resetting anything that's kind of making you doubt yourself or fear what's possible. And then once you have that sense of leadership, of vision, we worked yesterday with the Two of Wands card for the sign that I was reading for. So you could start to imagine holding your dream or your sort of passion close to you and every day resetting to that vision. And I think that's going to help you. And then you're going to be able to get other people excited about what's going on. So there you go. Some great stuff coming through, but push through any feelings of being blocked or being uncertain because they're largely mental, not so much environmental based on what I was feeling and seeing. All right, we're going to move along to the Celtic Cross now and all of the other cards that I pull. I'm reusing one of the decks that I used earlier this month. I love it a lot. I'm actually going to put a link to it on my site. I know a lot of times some of you ask what it is. So this was given to me from a client of mine. It's called Lightseers Tarot. Really vivid. And for some reason, as I was tuning into Aquarius, I thought it would help you, especially with the block. So, and then I know Ryan can link up my other cards or Maria can do that. All right, let's get started. I'm going to be quiet at this point. So thank you so much for being patient as I lay everything out. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being patient as I got everything arranged here. Let's take a look at the messages coming through. I like to start with a special card in my deck that I call the Catalyst. For me, the Catalyst is a very helpful card. It's kind of like a North Star. It's going to help you if you're feeling lost, which I was getting a little sense of earlier. And in particular, it helps you align to highest frequency, possibilities, and kind of staying out of your own way, if you will. And the message this month, reverse, but we're going to focus on the message itself, says from fear to fuel, stand still and own your power. I really love this one. And I was thinking earlier, actually, I was almost going to do something about fear, because when you think of what blocks you a lot of times, it's sometimes a lack of self-confidence. Sometimes it's being afraid of what might happen. Sometimes it's just not knowing where you're going to find the energy. That was something even I was struggling with in this past month. I found that May was a tricky month. There would be several days sometimes where you just felt like you were deflated, right? So as you're looking ahead, start to let go of the fear and think, flip it around. A good way to kind of take a fear and make it something that you can overcome, you could think in a high frequency way. So if you're afraid of failure, why not change it to what if I succeed? If you're afraid of receiving negative feedback, which you shouldn't be, because I was getting a really good image earlier, you could think, well, what if people love it? What if I'm surprised by how well it's received? Take a fear and turn it inside out and make it a positive and make it a question. A lot of times when you question it and kind of think, well, what's the worst that could happen? It's not as bad as you think it is. You can start to make light of the negative energy. Don't put that out to the universe. I wouldn't say what's the worst could happen. Put it in a positive statement. What if I succeed? How about I try it? Maybe I'll be surprised positively by what's possible. And then that will start to fuel you. And that's what I think actors can do. I talk about that a lot, the butterflies that you would feel, or like if you're going out on a date and you want to impress that person, or an interview for a job, or you are filling out some sort of an application for school or whatever, and you think, I really want this to work. And you get that sort of energy, like, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put the best foot forward because I want this, and I want people to feel that passion. So I think if you can forget about fear. We're done with that now. We're going to focus on moving you forward. It's going to be a good month, okay? The reversal of that is just a doubt of power. We have a lot. I'm wearing this, wearing the right color for this card today, but I was inspired to kind of do a strong sort of root chakra color that could help us all be grounded. So I think find your power. And I think there's a lot of energy where you can focus on in like first, second, and third chakras. I wanted to kind of go to the reds and oranges today when I was picking something to wear for you. So I think that will help you as well, meditating on those colors or working on those chakra systems. All right, I like what we see at the center of the spread here. We have the 9 of Pentacles, which indicates that for many of you, even if you've been struggling, you've been working really hard on things that will eventually pay off. So there's a little bit of faith that is in the 9 of Pentacles card. And we see also this person reaching up for something that they want or desire. So I think that even while we're in this weird pandemic, which is affecting the way we go to work, the way we learn, also even how quickly we can get stuff done, I think it's still important to reach for what it is that we want, what makes us kind of like feel inspired. And I think that inspiration is so important to you, not just this month, but I would say this year as we push through it. I kind of have a different view of the 9 of Pentacles. There are 3 messages that are coming through right now. The first one is a reminder that success does not happen overnight. In a traditional card, let me see, I don't think it's in this one. It's my favorite feature of it. We see a snail, it's not. And the snail shows you that, it's not always about rushing to the finish line. It's about building up consistently, working through all the challenges, and eventually getting that sense of, I did it. And sometimes because you've been through setbacks, failures, upsets, it's all the sweeter because the journey took longer. So when you look at your life and you look at other people and they're, so much further ahead, whether it's like in their career or they have a family or whatever it is that you're comparing yourself to them, just realize whenever things come together for you, and they will, and you have to be positive in that respect, then it's going to be sweeter. I also see it as a resourceful card. Typically, people will look at this and see like financial success and independence. But I look at the 2 things like taking your time, not rushing to the finish line, and also being able to tap into resources, even those that aren't like your bank account. These are virtual things. It could be years and years of good faith that you've put into relationships and networking. And in this time of need, you are one of the people that could pick up the phone and land on their feet. Or because you just know how to make things work, you're going to figure it out, even if the odds are stacked against you. So you've got this. The center card is one of independence, success, and resourcefulness. So the cards have faith in you, and so do I. And then what we were talking about earlier about belief being so strong, believe there is no block, believe there is an opportunity, because we have the high priestess right here. And what you believe is what you create. Dream it, then do it. See it. I would say believing it is actually the most important part of success sometimes. So otherwise, it's just sort of environmental luck or things around you. But if you can't believe it, it's very difficult, or it's very unlikely that you'll be as successful as you could if you actually put your mind, body, and spirit into it. You might also be finding that you are guided this month in how and what you should be doing, sort of, not just, I would say, in work, but in all aspects. I've noticed increased intuition, and I'm sure some of you have as well, because we've had more time to kind of think through things, especially if you're working from home. For those of you that are out there sort of in the trenches or going back to work, use your intuition to figure out how to navigate that. It's just showing me your third eye is wide open this month, and you're able to manifest, perceive, and what else could you really ask for? Again, for those of you that might not be aware of it, you might also be feeling an awakening happening as well. We look at deep past here. It's time to move on. We have two really big cards of movement for you. We have actually a few 10s coming through, but the 10 of Wands I want to start with. If you're watching me live at the end of May, the 10 of Wands applies to the here and now. If you're watching this in June, this is still something you want to look at. So this is one of the few 10 of Wands where the person's coming down the hill instead of going up. Usually they're headed to a destination. And so there's a general sort of warning or encouragement, like don't give up, you still have a lot to do. So for some of you, I feel like you might have just come through a difficult period, and it's telling you that, I actually see ebbs and flows. Sometimes we just think it's always going up for like success, for achievement, for the soul. When I was learning how to be a yoga teacher, one of my teachers reminded me that spiritually what will happen is we'll ascend a little bit, and then we take a half tick backwards so that we can sit with that new energy, because otherwise it can be overwhelming for the body to keep going up and up and up. We have to sort of like allow the channel to open and sort of permanently set in that, and then it grows a little bit more and then it has to set. Otherwise, if you just keep stretching, you can pop. So what I'm seeing here for some of you is a period between two peaks. So you may have just had a really high, and now it's kind of leveling off, and you're kind of building momentum to the next high. For some of you, you might have just come through a low, and now you're going up. And it's basically saying wherever you're at on this, it's cyclical, it's normal. We see it in financial markets, we see it in our health, we see it in seasons of our life. You can't just constantly go up. Think of a star. If it burns too brightly, its lifespan is shortened. So we want to be one of those slower burning stars that has a nice, long, resilient life. I mentioned there were two cards of movement. To me, this indicates an internal knowledge, I'm ready to move on. A lot of times, this card will come through either right before, during, or after a move, a physical move. That's why you see this person taking all their stuff and going somewhere else. We have the death card, and probably the most beautiful illustration of death that I've ever seen here in the environment. So everything is changing, and as you see, death is a window. This is how transformation should be illustrated. It's something you move through. So for many of you, you're going through a cycle in your life that is ending. This could be what you used to do for a living. This could be a relationship. For some of you, you're dealing with mortality. Maybe you've lost someone that you care about. Death in all aspects is coming through, but it's moving on. And now what can I do next? What's the destination? Death is just the path that I'm moving through. What's that? And for each of you, that's going to be different, but that's where the focal point should be. If we were holding the Two of Wands, I want you to focus in the eyes of death here, but beautifully illustrated, and think, what am I going to do? What am I going to transform into? What's my chrysalis going to involve, and how am I going to emerge? Okay, so I'm super excited about those cards though, because you've got great cards in the crowning position and the outcome, and we're going to take our time and move through it. So I feel like some of you are just sick of being on your own. We've got the Hermit in the recent past, but as you can see with this Hermit, it's always about understanding your power. Usually you'll see a Hermit holding a lantern and the star is in it, and it's an indication of the journey from personal growth to being able to be yourself, and that's like the butterfly. So these are two different steps. This is the chrysalis form where you're kind of going within and saying the change is already happening, but I have to sort of prepare myself. I've watched videos before. It's kind of fascinating. If you look at a caterpillar, when it builds its little chrysalis, it's already changed underneath its skin by the time it decides to do that. And then it goes through another change inside of that sort of shell that it builds. Fascinating process. You should Google it sometime. But so I feel like you're somewhere in that process. The change is already happening. You just have to honor it and decide to surrender to it. And that's kind of what the caterpillar has to do. What I've been noticing for a lot of signs, it's not just Aquarius, is that there's some magnetic energy coming through. I think because we miss personal contact so much, that's why the Lover's card keeps coming through. But it also shows me that however you decide to spend this energy or utilize this energy, and again, I was feeling lower chakras, which is why I wore the red color today, and we see some of that here, the passion coming through. So use that passion however you want to. Invest in yourself, invest in a project, or if you're looking to deepen a relationship or find a relationship, you definitely have that energy crowning your spread. And also one of the more beautiful Lovers cards that I've seen here. So one thing I'm going to say, notice how they're kind of getting swept up in the energy. I want you to be careful not to go too fast, too quickly, not just because of what's going on in the world, but because there's a lot of other things you need to be focusing on. And the card right after it is the Seven of Pentacles. So I think that the Lover's energy, if it kind of comes into your life, it should be yin and yang. It should balance you. It shouldn't tap you out, and it shouldn't sort of like pull you off path. So look for divine partnership and hopefully kind of like mixing and mingling of energies, but not someone pulling you too deeply into their world. Because as I look here at your near future, we have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So as you can see, Seven of Pentacles can indicate growth. It can also be recovery. But with it, just like with Six of Pentacles, there's a sort of warning to not overdo it. Six of Pentacles is a little bit more balanced, or you're more aware of the choices. With the Seven of Pentacles and the Lover's card, what might happen is you might get pulled too much into, again, the energy of being in love with an idea or getting swept up in the moment. So this is saying don't overdo it. You have a lot that you can tap into, as we see with the Nine of Pentacles, but you want to spend wisely, and you'll have more than enough as long as you do that. Looking at your ego this month, which is kind of your compass, it's telling me what's important to you, where your heart sort of sits. We have it being very sort of cemented in friends, in family, and in home. That's not a surprise because most of us have had shelter in place or work from home or various other words for staying at home orders. Though the other aspects of Ten of Pentacles are actually very, very positive, especially with the Ten of Wands. Some of you are looking for work, changing a job, or working differently, and that's why we have Death touching this too. I only have two hands, so I can't pull another card up. But these two tens are showing it might be time to rethink what you're doing. Are you either feeling stuck or pulled back a little bit on your path? If so, start to reach out. You see this person here with like spreading your roots, spreading your feelers, and saying like, what can I do? What else can I try? Without necessarily kind of just, jumping from one thing to another. Try to get all your ducks lined up and then make that change happen. I do feel like change is inevitable for you. It's in the environment. And I had a meditation a few months back, and I could see the energy of death. It was almost like this. It was a hooded figure. Death takes many forms. It doesn't have to be the sort of archetypal form that we see here. But I saw it. And it was kind of like around the time the pandemic was breaking out. But what I noticed was, there was no ability to hide from it. So the energy of change is really what 2020 is about. Every time I would move, that that symbol would be there, and I could hear a sort of sound. It reminded me of, if you've ever seen the George C. Scott version of A Christmas Carol, there's this sort of, it's almost like a horn or a foghorn that you hear when you see the angel of death. That's what I saw. So death was coming through a few months ago, kind of showing me that this was a change-making year. And I think it's important to embrace death. It's an angel and an energy that's misunderstood. I'm working on putting the finishing touches on a book that I hope to launch later this year. One of the key characters is death. I'm not afraid of it. I think it's to be embraced. It's transformation. It's like a butterfly. So this month, the question is, what do you want to change? What do you feel like you can move into or out of? With the 210 cards and with transformation itself here, you're only limited by your ability to dream. And that's really what we see here in the window of that sort of being here is, what do if you stop dreaming, if you stop thinking about that, then that's actually stagnation too. And that's what I was feeling. I don't get that block when I tune into signs. I usually start to see and feel things almost immediately. So there's something that needs to break, because death can be stagnation. So whatever it is, work through that this month. For many of you, I feel like it might be your work situation, how you're working, where you're working, are you doing what you want? For some of you, it might be a relationship that's just kind of stagnating. Whatever you want to do with the Lovers card, as long as you have each other's back, I feel like you can move through that. Otherwise, honor your heart. What is it that you truly want to do? That's also going to help give you the momentum to move forward. Hopes, fears, and opportunities. We have the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands is one of the best multitasking cards that you can pull in tarot. Eight of Wands indicates like really good things for business, but Seven of Wands is almost kind of giving you sort of a pat on the back, saying, you're doing a great job. You're going to be taxed out. Try not to let that bother you. Instead, think, I can handle all of this and then some. Just because you can, though, doesn't mean that you have to. So there is a sort of, how should I put this? You should be discerning with the Seven of Wands energy. So much in the same way that with the Six of Pentacles, you're holding, just doing a few coins at a time. You're not going to give away everything. The same thing is true here. Notice how she's kind of waiting before she decides to act. And sometimes this card can indicate being defensive. She's not being defensive. In fact, she's sort of like, say what you want, do what you will. Your energy is not going to affect me. I know who I am. You see it coming from her heart chakra. So she knows who she is. She knows what she wants to do. She's in her own bubble of light and, as we saw with the High Priestess, her own manifestation. So part of doing something that matters, part of being popular, you see this with anyone that's in a public position, is criticism, right? I can put my heart and soul into one of these videos and then someone will put a negative comment. I just choose not to look at that or put that energy into my auric field that much. I'm like, bless that person, I'm moving on. And so for some of you, there's going to be that need to sort of be like, yeah, I heard it, but I'm not going to let that bother me. My skin is thicker than that. I know who I am. I know what I want to do. And I'm going to pick and choose what I decide to kind of like fight for. I'm also going to delegate if I can. And that's one of the things that comes through with the Seven of Wands. Basically, as you can see, as illustrated here, it's really a card of empowerment. So you've got it, embrace it. And you've got too much to focus on with these two cards. What are you going to change with respect to who you are, how you work, where you live? This card is saying you don't have time for that nonsense. I could think of other words, but that's what I'm saying. That's nonsense sometimes when people are just projecting their own stuff. And it's like trying to throw pasta on the wall. They're just seeing if it will stick, so don't let it stick. You've got non-stick energy in your auric field, and it's just going to bounce back to them or go somewhere else. All right, I like the outcome for you. We have the King of Wands here, and it really is, this is the ultimate card of management, of feeling strong and knowing who you are. And notice how there's almost a casual nature to this King of Wands, which I like. Just as you see sort of like with the King of the Jungle in the background, you don't have to always prove that you're the strongest or the best. There can just be this understanding of, I've worked really hard to be where I am, who I am, and that's enough. I know my own strength and others will know it too. And when I think of impressive bosses that I've worked with or mentors in my life, or even like family members, many of whom have already passed. But like if I think of some of my old grandparents and people like that, I remember that when they entered the room, they would just command a presence. And it wasn't because of their voice. It wasn't necessarily because of what they're wearing. It was actually just because they knew who they were. They usually had great things to say when they did speak. And I wanted to be around that energy. And so if you can just feel this month secure and confident in who you are, and get there. That's what some of the pause is. That's why we're getting this time to sort of figure it out. So spend some time figuring out who you are and what you want. And then you don't have to second guess that. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to explain yourself. And it's going to be a great chance for you to move forward. So that is the magnetic energy. So just knowing this can create the lover's energy that we see here. It's not always about falling in love, attracting people. This to me is a magnet card. 2 of Cups, the lovers, and even Ace of Cups. It's just passion, and it permeates everything around you. So got some really beautiful energy this month, some really great things. If you're looking for love this month, it could be in the form of the King of Wands there, because those are the 2 crowning cards. All of the things I just said are things to be aware of. It's either you or your partner that's kind of exuding that confidence. So be prepared. To me, it seems like a really strong persona that's coming in. So if it's you, like I said, you don't have to prove anything. Just be yourself. If it's the other person, know this. If someone of that stature comes into your life, you must have something amazing to offer. And that's a really great thing to do when you're manifesting partnerships or trying to fix existing ones. You think to yourself, I'm more than enough for myself or others, and other people would be just as lucky to have me in their life as I would be to have them in mine. So you both are blessed. And if you're single and happy, good for you. This energy is showing that you can put the passion into your work, okay? So use it as you will. You've got attractive energy this month. You have a lot of confidence that's coming through. You have to move past the block that I was sensing earlier. I'm going to take a quick sip here of tea, and then I'm going to move along to your expanded forecast, looking at health, wealth, love, and destiny. All right. We're going to start with your health card. Health is mind, body, and spirit. We have when I lean on certainty and faith, I change my mind about the world I see. This is what I was talking about earlier, deciding to reset things. And because we're looking at your sort of the window of health, for some of you that are feeling like you had a setback, or that it's been difficult to move towards your goal, whatever it is, maybe it's lowering your cholesterol, or getting more sort of fit if you're looking at trying to build up your muscles, or whatever it is you're trying to do. I want you to just think baby steps, and I'm going to look at this differently, and I'm going to change up the routine as well. For those of you that haven't been paying attention to mind, body, and spirit, it's not just about physical or diet. It can also be about meditation. This is really the third eye that I was talking about, starting to open that up and think, all right, there's more to this world than a paycheck. There's more to this world than what I'm wearing or what I look like. What am I on the inside? What is my spirit looking like? What's that health kind of feeling like? So I feel like this month, just bringing visibility towards that and deciding that I'm going to see the possibilities, not the negative aspects of it. Again, when I look at 7 of Wands, push away that old habit of sometimes being critical. Defend yourself where necessary, but part of that can just be that beautiful bubble that she has. And if you look at this in the right way, it's kind of like this would be the crystal ball underneath the high priestess, right? So you are what you create. So just create something good in your mind and think, I'm fulfilling that. I'm living up to that. To look at a few things that you can focus on, I was actually thinking root vegetables when I was looking at the 7 of Pentacles. So if you need to find some grounding in your life, because this card was reversed, it's a good time to look at things like carrots and radishes and anything that grows in the earth. That's something that I do sometimes. I have one of my splurges is sometimes I like to do baked fries. So I have some that I will put in the oven, and just a handful. And if you're feeling really lightheaded or something like that, a baked potato can help you, or again, some carrots or some radishes and anything from the earth. It's really, really effective at bringing you into a sort of calmer state. So maybe incorporating some root vegetables in your life could be helpful. With the death card in the environment, something needs to change, okay? So for those of you that are looking around your house and thinking, I've been meaning to, go through and rearrange things, perfect. The energy of kind of how you've set everything up, feng shui, is really important. So move things around until they feel better. For those of you that have just been sitting too much, that stagnation is dangerous. You have to move it. Don't care how you move. Honor your body, honor your limits, but find a way. And, I had someone commenting the other day, like, well, what if you are disabled? Then I think it's important to work with a physical therapist, or find, even just moving in a wheelchair and working on upper body strength. That's going to be really helpful. Whatever you can do, honor your limits, but there needs to be a little bit of movement happening in your house, and I would say also in your routines this month. Looking now at your wealth card, we have unconditional love. It says, love yourself, others, and every situation, no matter what the outward appearances may be. And the reason that this is coming through in wealth is that if you don't respect and love who you are, it is going to manifest itself in all types of relationships and opportunities, especially your work partnerships, and more importantly, what people might be paying you when you're getting compensation. Because what I see at the center of the spread here is something of worth, the Nine of Pentacles. What I'm seeing in the near future, though, is a struggle, not just because many of us are, experiencing reduced work, or we're out of work, or it's just not what it used to be, but there could be some internal blocks for some of you where you're thinking, is it okay for me to ask for more? Am I worth what I'm getting paid? If you can't believe that, nobody else will. But if you can, we have the 10 of Pentacles here, and it almost looks like a big ace in the sky here. So I feel like you can make something amazing happen if you change your perspective there. Self-love. You got to love yourself. You got to believe in yourself. And you wouldn't be doing what you're doing if you're still doing it if you didn't do something right. There's a lot of do's, but you understand. If other people can see your value, you should too. And in fact, you should go above it and really think, I've only just begun this. I'm only at the tip of this iceberg. There's so much more that I want to explore. Okay, so that was good. And basically what I also see here is we were talking about the ups and downs. So we have 9 of Pentacles, 7 of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles. And so, yeah, there's going to be periods of pronounced highs and lows, but all of your cards are abundant. The 7 of Pentacles in the near future is the only thing to focus on. So I would say June, July, and August could be that 7 moment where things are taxed. You might be tempted to lean more on credit cards or spend too much. So just pull it back a half tick and decide, not that much. I can make it through. I'm going to be smart about this. All right. Health, wealth, love. Okay. This is the same energy that I'm seeing in the 7 of Wands. Notice how this person is pushing back a little bit, right? And I think that for many of you, you don't always have to engage in a sort of dialogue with somebody and a discourse or try to like verbally defend yourself. It can be a choice of not engaging that's just as important. So if somebody is just spouting out nonsense, you take a deep breath and then you just move on to the next topic. You don't have to fight, because they might be fishing and trying to figure out where they can where they can kind of find a crack in your defenses. So this month, push it back and think, I don't need that. This is kind of nonsense. This is not important. And I think that's going to be really important. The other thing in your daily sort of routine is to create a sense of protection. So we see in the 7 of Wands, it can be a bubble. I tend not to work with bubbles because this is just my own belief, and beliefs are real. Bubbles can pop. So I try to do stronger things. Like one thing that I like to meditate with is the idea that there's a ray of light that follows me everywhere. Like I'm an actor walking on stage. It's my higher self, and it's always shining down. And I just see this circle of light, and you'll see that I do that a lot in meditations. We'll pull a circle of light around us, and it just follows you. You could imagine it being sort of like a halo that's around your body. That's going to, and you could just put interlocking or like stack a bunch of halos and just imagine that these energetic bands are going to be around you. So there's so many ways that you can focus on it. And one thing that I like to do is change it up. A good defense is one that people can't imagine. So I try to do a different defensive technique every day. So you could use mirrors, you could use these rings of light, you could use a bubble, but I would then enforce it with something else. You can imagine that you have like titanium on your skin. There's so many things that you can use to defend yourself and be creative, have it be something that's fun. That's one of the messages that's coming through here with respect to relationships, is know your boundaries. Look at what we have here again with the King of Wands. He's not necessarily saying anything, he's showing it. So demonstrative energy is going to be super important. And one more thing that my guides are kind of whispering to me is you've got to walk the walk, or other people are going to reject what you're trying to say. So if you're in a position of authority and you don't follow your own advice, it's like, maybe this is more something that was in the 20th century rather. I remember my grandparents and parents would say sometimes, like, do as I say, not as I do. Well, no, that's not so much the case. If it's not good enough for you, why is it good enough for me? So lead by example this month in relationships, and others will follow. Okay. Let's look now at where this is all taking you, your destiny card. This is something that is malleable and that you can shift. It says, sacred self, unleash your spirit, express your gifts, dance to the sacred rhythm of life. So I'll pull it a little bit closer so you can see it. And as I look at all of this, it's like expressing yourself that I think is super important. Where is the dove? But it's right over top of her throat chakra. So for many of you this month, that's where some of the development and opening may need to be. Because let me see, I don't think we got any swords cards, which for you is unusual. So that makes sense here, that I think that one of the opportunities is how can I communicate? It may be this month that it is more demonstrative because of the King of Wands, because of all the cards showing you sort of moving forward. There's a lot of wands actually that came through. So wands and pentacles kind of dominated your spread. So this might be a month where you're communicating in a different way, but I do feel like there might be a chance for you to find a new way to sort of like put that message out there. So maybe if it's not spoken, it might be written. And overall, maybe the block that I was feeling earlier could have been around the throat as well. So we'll meditate on that a little bit later. And when I pull the past, present, and future cards, we'll see if there's anything else coming out around communication, okay? Let's quickly review, and then we'll get into that healing part and opening part and see what else we can tap into as far as healing and removing blocks in the future. All right, so your first, actually, let's go to the channeled messages first. As I was saying, belief actually is the ultimate creative force. So I want you to focus on believing that there are no blocks in your life, or there is no block if you just are feeling one. And imagine that there's this daily reset that you can do. And for some of you, it's going to be in the morning. Maybe it's in the evening for others of you, or you might want to mix it up a little bit. So in the evening, you're just going to decide to let go of the lessons of the day. And in the morning, you're going to decide to create something new in their place. And then you may be at a place, and we see it here with the King of Wands, where you're being taking that mantle of mentor or leader and might be leading the way or showing the way. So don't be afraid to do that. There are many ways to communicate. For some reason, it's not so much spoken this month for your sign. So we'll look a little bit more into that as we do the fourth part of the reading in just a second. Actually, yes. Turning your fears upside down. That's why actually the card came through reverse for me. But fears into fuels, as I said, what if you just turn them into possibilities and reverse them? So if you're afraid of failing, then say, what if I succeed? If you're afraid of not finding work, what if I find a great job? What if I have more than enough? Just turn it into the positive and really cool things will happen. We have a resourceful card at the center. There are a lot of pentacle cards that came through for you. 9 of Pentacles, smack dab in the center, 7 near future, and then the 10 of Pentacles in the soul. So this is your value. This is what's coming through. This is the challenge. You haven't actually reached your cap yet. So there's still plenty of work to go. For some of you, this could be what is holding you from maybe taking that next step. There might be one more thing that you want to accomplish or experience at work or in your relationship or whatever it is. And once you've allowed that to happen, then we have the portal card here, transformation or death. 10 of Wands, as I said, it's kind of about this up and down, highs and lows, peaks and valleys. So we're not going to get a nice and even plateau, and it's not going to be a perfect sort of upward climbing trend here. As long as you can make peace with that, I think you're good. And just imagine that you're headed to your next adventure. That's what I kind of like with the 10 of Wands. The Hermit card is showing you that you have the power to get through any challenging situation. Even if you're feeling isolated or alone, look at what you're learning about yourself. The Hanged Man and the Hermit are cards showing the benefit of isolation sometimes. And look at this person rising above. It's kind of like almost like they're levitating up there. So you're going to be okay. Even though you can't see stuff, that's where faith enters in. Beautiful Lovers card here at the top, showing you your ability to bring things in. It's an attractive force, and that's what we see here. The only message I would say is don't get swept up in the moment. Don't get too excited about something and forget about what you should be keeping your focus on, particularly if that is finishing up some sort of a commitment or work, because we see a little bit of a decline here from the Nine of Pentacles to the Seven of Pentacles. Ground yourself, put some feelers out there, and see if there's something else that you could be doing. This could be even a way of sort of offering something up or getting ahead of a request, and that shows a lot of incentive and a lot of drive, which for, if you're working at a company, could kind of put you on the radar for growth, for promotion. So much energy around family, home. You've got a lot of relationship energy this month. Know this, you are loved, even if you sometimes feel alone. Not everybody's good about communicating, something that we see coming through. So you might have to be the one that makes the gesture to sort of show that and illustrate your own vulnerability. As we talked at great length, the energy of change is at your disposal this month. Imagine what could be coming in place of whatever you feel like you're letting go. This is just a chance for you to reinvent yourself, to emerge. For those of you that are afraid of something, inform yourself, especially if it's mortality. If you're afraid of sickness or whatever's going on, get the information that you need. The card comes through to help, not to scare you. You can handle whatever comes your way. You don't need to defend yourself on every situation. And if you do, it can be nonverbal. And choices are really important. That's what we see here. It's all in how you carry yourself. It's all in how you demonstrate things. Also, this is the ultimate card of business. So if you want to go out on your own, if you want to do something, I really feel like it would be better if you have some sort of a hand in the decision-making process this month, okay? Choose to see things that you want to focus on this month and see the possibilities, not the negative. That's something that we talked about quite a bit. So I feel like some of you have a chance to kind of like reevaluate what it is that you want to focus on, cast things in a new light, open up your intuition. That's really what we see here. It is your third eye. Love and respect yourself. If you can't, it's going to be difficult for others to do that. And it's also going to be difficult to get ahead when we're looking at work. You don't have to engage with everybody this month, even though we have the Lovers card. What this could also indicate is that there's a lot of people like knocking on your door and asking for your time. Say no. Really, there is a sort of pushback energy with relationships this month, and I think that's important. Some of you may decide that that is literally, I'm stepping out of this relationship because death is here, and it's touching the Ten of Pentacles, so walking away from someone. Unfortunately, because of the time that we're currently in, some of you have lost people that you love. That's what death is, and it's attached to family. So you may need time to sort this out. Take as much time as you need. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. There's no expiration date on grief. And my heart goes out to you if you've been feeling any of that. Finally, we have Sacred Self here in the Destiny. Unleash your spirit, express your gifts, dance to the sacred rhythm of life. That's really taking the top two cards and pulling them together. You know who you are. You know what you want. You can get other people involved with this if you are kind of magnetic enough and have enough passion and joy in that, okay? All right, let's move on to the final portion here where we're gonna focus on opportunities for removing blocks and also healing. I just need to take another drink because I'm talking a lot. All righty. We'll start with the past and let's really focus on what might be, again, sort of like blocking you or maybe something that's kind of anchoring you down with this first one. Okay, we have the Nine of Wands. We're not done with Wands yet. All right, so what I like with the Nine of Wands is it is a card of persistence, resilience. Resilience, really. A typical card, not so much in this deck, but you will normally see someone that has a bandage on their head. And sometimes you even see a little bit of blood or a bruise. And it's basically saying, not only am I not ready to give up, but I've been through ostensibly the worst part of it. So at this point, I have to finish it because I set my intention on that. And so for some of you, I feel like you owe it to yourself to see something through, and you're going to continue to shine brightly. You went through this for a reason. You found your power. We see the power here. So you're going to share that power to shine that sort of brightness and knowledge with the world now. So what's blocking you? Well, with the Nine of Wands, I think you just have to kind of get into the energy and the sort of idea that I'm not going to give up. Maybe someone in your life said something like, you know, this isn't worth it. Look at how much time you've wasted. I would flip it around and say, look at how far you've come. Look at how much you've overcome. And if you have like the last mile of the race, why would you quit now? Just finish it. It doesn't matter what place you finish. You got to finish. That was your soul's journey. So you owe it to yourself to finish something, and then it's going to feel great. It'll be a relief. You'll be able to fully and completely get into the next energy of whatever is coming through in your life. So yeah, I think that's important. I've had situations in my life where there's just one person that can get into your head and make you doubt yourself. And unfortunately, it can put you in a tailspin. You know, if you feel good about something, if you're grounded, that stuff is nonsense. So that's why we saw a lot of cards this month for you that are showing like reject it, push it back. Okay. Let's look at the present opportunities coming through for either healing or for opening things up for expansion. Six of Wands. My goodness, there's a lot of cognitive energy coming through. So this is the success card that I was actually seeing in my head when I was meditating for you. Notice how we don't see anybody else with it. Let me just put the deck down for a second. So this is something that I've been talking about. I think I was doing the Rider-Waite, I'm not the Rider-Waite-Smith, but the Morgan Greer deck for another sign. But there are a few decks that I use where you don't see the people, you only see the person. And this is a message that bears repetition. Whatever you're working on right now, it is not diminished by the lack of public around you. And it's hard right now because this is the month and the time period during which many of you are graduating. Many of you might be also achieving important milestones. I mean, birthdays are important, anniversaries are important. There may be other things that are happening and you just wish that you could celebrate. Well, you already are a success. Do you really need it? Do you really need everybody out there acknowledging what you should already be able to do internally? This isn't saying that you can't do it at a later date, and I'm not diminishing the awesomeness that you feel sometimes in those sort of public situations. But what the universe is saying is, you've got a lot to be grateful for. Who cares if people aren't there to see it? Was that why you were doing it? If so, you should look at your motivations. The motivation should be personal growth and expansion. And it's there, and you succeeded, and I'm happy for you. And whatever you're doing right now, even if you're struggling, that's still part of this. You're working for you, always. At the end of our days, we're the one that looks back through our life. It's not God judging us. We look at ourselves because we are God energy, and we judge our life, our situations. We feel the energy of how our situations and our decisions affected others. So you're always your judge and jury. The sooner you realize that, the easier it's going to be to achieve what you need to do. So get back to soul path and soul purpose and celebrate your every little victory. Every day is a celebration, and whatever is going on in your life, it's still being seen. Look at all these lights up there, and there'll still be a moment to shine. It just may not be in the way that you imagined it. Okay? Very surprised that we got no swords cards for you. Actually, I just had one that fell out here, so let's see. More wands. And I do shuffle this deck very well. So there's just a lot of, whenever I get this much energy over, for me, cognitive, I feel like that was the block that I was feeling earlier for you, was just kind of opening up your mind. So this is the card of manifestation. It came through upside down, but it's okay. We're going to just look at this. Look at the person. They're stuck inside. This happened for another deck that I was looking at. I was using like the Wizards deck, and the person was inside. You can see them waiting to get out there and explore the world. And it's sort of this feeling of like, how and when will this happen? Even if you're out there working, there's still this feeling of this isn't the world that I'm used to. See that globe in front of her? It's a new world. We're creating something new. So turn things around. I think this is a time to really start to get imaginative about how you might, explore different things in your life. So it's a time to open up, a time to try new things. So you got a lot of energy this month around possibilities, around demonstrative energy, and around thoughts. It's all like your mind and your body. I want to focus in the meditation on opening the voice a little bit, but basically the messages this month are showing me it's not as important now. You're going to have plenty of time to do that. It's more important to finish something, to celebrate the successes, and to focus on what's next. So being heard, being seen, maybe not part of the big picture this month. Not such a big deal because you're still making progress and there's still a lot to love and celebrate. Okay? So let's move on now to the meditation. And at this point, we're going to integrate some of these messages. And as I look at these today, I really love the window card here that we see with death and rebirth here. And I forgot to sort of show that this actually has both words here. So part of what I'd like to do is imagine that we're becoming something else, maybe kind of spreading our wings like a butterfly. So we'll go into that sort of chrysalis energy of transformation. And then the other thing that I'm seeing here with there's manifestation. Oh yeah, we're going to focus on the throat. So I think that's enough to focus on because we'll have just enough time for those two. And if I can think of anything else during the meditation, I'll do that. All right. Let me take another drink here and then we'll get started. So quick note, if you haven't already hit like and subscribe, please consider doing that. They're both free and it just helps other people discover the channel. So it's a great way to say thanks and it costs nothing. All right, let's begin the meditation. I'd like to do it at twilight. I like the stars. So we're gonna do that. So I want you to imagine that you are maybe by, I'm seeing like a lake. So imagine that you are meditating by a lake and you're actually looking at the reflection of the stars in the water. And I want you to take a few deep breaths as you kind of look up and then look down at really this sort of beautiful window on the world. We're going to use the reflection in a moment, but for now, I just want you to see how, if you kind of put your finger in there, how everything changes, how everything ripples. We're in a point in time where the world seems to be changing rapidly, but once the water settles down, everything takes shape and form again, and you understand maybe your focus is shifted, but there's still something familiar there. You can get back to something that you trust, and that's what I'm seeing in the water in front of me. So take a moment and look at one of the stars above you, and allow that to be your North Star. Allow the light, this beautiful silver light, to shine down on your body. And sometimes I can see orbs around me. Imagine that you see all these little twinkling kind of particles that are surrounding you and protecting you. And on a cellular level, they're going to enter into your body and reprogram you so that you have this chance to raise your frequency and see the light and the opportunities around you. Let's take a few deep breaths and just allow this starlight to enter into our auric field, to bring this sort of glimmering, shimmering, twinkling, kind of silverish yellow energy into our body. And I want you to kind of feel like you do when maybe you get the pins and needles, you're just waking up a little bit, and then this beautiful warm sensation washing over your body. We'll take a few deep breaths together. Inhale. Exhale. Relax your shoulders, neck, and back as you do this. Now, looking up in this moment, I want you to imagine that your third eye is really connecting with that star, and so is your throat chakra. And if there's anything that has been sort of constricting or holding back your voice, I want it now to start to melt away. and allow this starlight to come through, or the moonlight if you would like, and remove the block. It's going to kind of melt gently away any sort of energy that's getting in the way of that. And I want you to feel like each breath that you're taking is actually opening up the throat, opening up your ability to sort of stand tall, like we saw with the King of Wands there. And imagine that the tone of your voice is going to change when you decide to say something in the future. Stronger, more resonance, more truth. Connect that to your third eye. These two chakras are very close. So know who you are, know what you want to say, and allow that energy to kind of create this, this beautiful circle of light that's going between the two chakras. They're creating a loop of energy. So that in the month ahead, as we're looking at June, you're going to be able to speak your truth, speak your wisdom, and people will see and hear and feel that in anything you choose to communicate. I'd like you now to gently turn your gaze towards the water in front of you. And in this moment, think of a few things that you're ready to let go of in your life. Imagine that through this lens, you can see what was, what is, and what may be, just like the spirits in A Christmas Carol. Looking at the spirits from the past, instead of feeling haunted by them, be grateful for the lessons that they brought you. And know that they are not there to torture you. They are not there to sometimes make you feel stuck. They were just there as a flicker, as a moment to sort of push you a little further on your path. So to the ones that you love, send a smile. To the ones that you wish you didn't have to experience, extend gratitude for knowing what you don't want. It's just as important as knowing who you are, what you want. Sometimes you have to be pushed into a path where it's not comfortable. Looking at the present, I want you to look outside of your own reflection and imagine that as you look to the right, to the left, above, you start to see the world around you. You start to see the possibilities that so often get kind of like pushed out from your own internal energy, your own blocks, that stuff that I was feeling earlier. I want you to reach for one of those that matters the most and pull it into the center of this sort of cosmic screen that's in front of you. And now imagine that you can hear that energy of transformation that I talked about. And maybe you even see death symbolized in front of you. Instead of creating a cocoon, imagine that death is going to come around you and wrap its cape, and you're going to exist for a moment in the energy of transformation. And you're going to look through the eyes, through the cape of death at the future, what you're going to create. And you realize in this moment that it's both a destructive and a creative force. As we meditate, release what you need to release. And when we take this cape off, you're going to be something different. So exist for a moment in the energy of transformation as I play the singing bowl and create a new truth and a new vision for tomorrow. Take a moment now. I hope that you feel the sensation of being safe, of being surrounded by love, of being surrounded by the possibilities in the future. This is really what transformation came in to show you, not to make you feel afraid. Transformation isn't there to do that. It wants you to walk through the portal into something better. When you're ready, imagine that the energy of transformation is taking away this cape, the shroud. Now I want you to look into the lake in front of you. and see the new reflection, the new truth, the future that you've created. See the love, the light, the brilliance that was always there. Hold this reflection in your mind's eye, in your third eye. Take a deep breath. On the exhale, open. And welcome back. So we had a very powerful reading today. I hope you could feel that. I certainly could. Wonderful transformation that happened for many of you, hopefully, in the idea of what's possible. And I'm excited to see what June leads to kind of bring to you. And also, you know, when I'm looking at near future and future, Seven of Pentacles and King of Wands, to me, that indicates not just like a month, but it can be 3 to 6 months, depending. If I was just going to pull a spread for myself and not make it a single month, to me, that can show between a quarter of a year to 2 quarters of a year. So with the Seven of Pentacles, just remember to continue to work on yourself. There's healing that needs to be done. There's moments of feeling like I won't have enough, but you're going to keep growing, because part of growing is pushing out a little bit. When we look at this is also that chrysalis energy, which is I need to get out of this so that I can become the new me. So don't give up. Keep pushing. It takes work. Growth takes work. Whether you're trying to spiritually grow, emotionally grow, build muscles, you have to work. So that's the main message here, is don't give up, okay? Let's take a moment here, and I'm just going to do a little bit of business and tell you guys how you can connect and everything. I'd like to thank everybody. I saw a few super stickers and super chats. For all of you that did that, thank you so much. Like I said, when this is on replay, I'll write a little note and call all your names out. But just know in the meantime that you helped me buy specifically decks like this one and this one. And then the deck that I'm using today was a gift from a client. It's one of the best gifts that I received. Such a beautiful energy in this. So Chi was the name of that client. So thank you so much. All right. I want to let you know how you can connect with me on social media. First and foremost, you can go to my website. Everything that I'm going to talk about is there. It's nicholasashbaugh.com. And on that site, you can find upcoming reading dates, any of the past links. If you're not sure where to find it on my YouTube channel, everything's there. I'd love for you to join me on Facebook. Just note that the username is @NicholasAshbaugh. There are other Nicholas Ashbaughs. That's the only one you should be liking. Don't connect with me on the personal one, because I don't really mix the business and the personal site. So this is the one to follow for business. And again, it's the same username for YouTube and Facebook, also for Patreon. Patreon's a great way that you can kind of support me on a monthly basis. Little as $1 makes a big difference. The join button is another way to do that. If you would like to get some reminders on Instagram, I'd love for you to follow me there. It's Nicholas_Ashbaugh. And I use story reminders both on Instagram and Facebook. Twitter, it's @NAshbaugh. And if you just want to do a one-time contribution, you can go to my website, or you can directly go to paypal.me/NicholasAshbaugh. I need to take one more drink and then we'll close here. Thank you so much for those last couple of stickers that came through. I appreciate you guys too. Thanks again to Ryan and Maria for holding space, keeping everything organized. More importantly, we had a lot of people that showed up today, and a lot of you stuck through the meditation, and that means a lot. Thanks for taking part in this very special reading. I definitely felt that there was an ability to push through the block that I felt when I began the reading. And that gets to what we were talking about, which is there is no block. So if you feel like there's some sort of a block, just stop believing in it and hit the reset button. And I think that that's going to be really important for your sign over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. Take care of yourselves. Much love and light. I'll be back later this week to work on the Pisces reading. And then we'll be done for this month, which is exciting. And I just want to thank you all for being in this journey, working on yourselves, and being amazing. Take care of yourselves, and lots of love and light. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thanks.